And one of the things happening today is that former Vice President Dick Cheney is being laid to rest. I'm looking over to my right, and it looks like that funeral probably just wrapped up. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who Dick Cheney was in case you're unfamiliar. We know that the former vice president served under former President George W. Bush. He was a pivotal figure as America responded to the 9/11 attacks and then the subsequent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. He died November 4th from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease, and he was 84 years old. Several political figures were there today, including former President Bush, former President Biden, and former vice presidents like Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, Dan Quayle, and Supreme Court Justices Clarence Thomas and John Roberts, all there to pay tribute to former Vice President Dick Cheney. This unfolded at the Washington National Cathedral, his funeral services. And according to Reuters, we know that President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance were not invited to this. Trump has had a long-running feud with Liz Cheney, a former representative of Wyoming and Dick Cheney's daughter. She voted to impeach Trump after the January 6th riots, but she spoke during the service today, and I'd like to let you listen into a little bit of what she had to say.
Following your kids to talk about your dad is not good scheduling. But distinguished guests, presidents and vice presidents, dear friends, my mom and Mary and I and our families thank you for being here to honor the good and great man we loved so much. A few years ago, reflecting back on nearly 40 years in public service, Dick Cheney said this: "The path I had traveled was partly due to the circumstance of my birth. Not that I had been born into a powerful or privileged family. I wasn't. But I was born an American, a blessing surely among life's greatest." My dad thought deeply about what this blessing meant, about the duties it imposed. Shortly after he became Secretary of Defense in 1989, he described departing from the Pentagon. "As my helicopter lifted off the Pentagon helipad, I could look across the river to the great monuments of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln, to the White House and the Capitol building, where all the great decisions that have shaped 200 years of American history were made. And I could look directly out on Arlington National Cemetery."
Well, that's Liz Cheney speaking at her father Dick Cheney's funeral services. This happened just a couple hours ago around noon today. We'll continue to keep you updated, but as of now, I've looked to my right, and it does seem that the funeral services have wrapped up for the day.